Hi. I'd like to spend some time talking about the importance of Microsoft Exchange to many IT environments. Now, most end users spend a lot of time logged into Exchange. They get email and calendar, contacts, tasks, etc. And for many end users, they would consider it a very important, perhaps even mission-critical system. Now, most of these users will be logged in using a desktop running Windows and Office, using the Outlook client to connect to Exchange. Now, if you're going to do any work like consolidation or upgrading to your back-end Exchange environment, it's important to think about the impact on the desktop. In some cases, the new functionality that comes in with the latest version of Exchange will only be visible to end users if they're also running the latest version of the Office client. Now, users who connect using a web browser often get all of the functionality because it's all being delivered to the browser using the back end. So Outlook Web Access, or it's now known as Outlook Web App, will have the full functionality available from the Exchange server as soon as the server is deployed. So in 2010, we've added in some capabilities such as mail tips, which will warn an end user that they're maybe trying to send an email to a very large distribution list. If the user's not using Outlook 2010, then they wouldn't see that warning. But if they were using Outlook 2010 or in fact using the browser, then they would get the mail tips shown to them. Now, Exchange relies very heavily on other elements within the infrastructure. It runs on Windows Server, and in fact it was the main reason for a lot of organizations adopting Windows 2000, Windows 2003 and moving to the Active Directory as their way of logging in and representing their directory system. Now, one trend that's fairly prevalent at the moment is consolidation of physical servers to virtualized environments, and Exchange plays very well in a number of different virtual server environments. One of them is obviously delivered as part of Windows Server 2008. It's called Hyper-V, and Exchange natively supports running on a Hyper-V environment. Now, it's not always necessarily the best thing to virtualize, but many organizations would look to virtualize at least some, if not all, of their Exchange server roles. Perhaps the back-end database servers with very heavy input-output requirements may benefit from staying on physical machines, but the other environment, the other servers in the environment may be okay to virtualize. Now, when it comes to securing and managing this environment, Microsoft has a couple of families of technologies that will play a big role in helping Exchange be a well-run server. So the Forefront Security suite is a combination of a number of different on-premise and services-led technologies. So from a services point of view, there's an ability to filter email before it even comes into the organization, so that you know that only the clean email is left. So anything with a virus in it or any spam could be filtered out or held before it gets delivered into your environment. There's also on-premise antivirus protection using Forefront Protection for Exchange, and there's a threat management gateway technology, which is effectively a firewall to allow end users who are outside of the organization to still connect through to the Exchange environment, but maintain a secure way of presenting that information to them. Threat Management Gateway was historically known as ISA server. And then from a systems management point of view, the suite, the family of products is called System Center, and that comprises a number of different technologies that are relevant to Exchange. So Data Protection Manager can help you back up the Exchange data and make sure that it's kept in multiple places potentially. System Center Configuration Manager could patch manage the Exchange servers and keep their configuration in a consistent state. And Operations Manager is used by a lot of Exchange admins to monitor the health of the environment and give them reporting on who's using Exchange, where is the email going to, how over a long period of time is the service being affected by changes in usage and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of benefit in System Center and in Forefront for keeping the environment healthy and well. Now, Exchange also has impact into other areas, particularly the way that end users will work with each other and communicate. Now, Office Communications Server is a companion technology in many cases to Exchange Server. It's something that gives end users the ability to see presence of each other, so they know when someone is online, they know they can contact them. and it gives them an instant messaging capability, so they can quickly send a text-based message to someone else to perhaps ask them a quick question or find out if they're available, if they're free, that sort of thing. And in some cases, OCS and using IM stops an end user from sending an email, because they would just send them a quick instant message instead. But those organizations that are adopting OCS are increasingly moving to using it as the foundation for their next generation voice infrastructure. So as the end user might not be sitting on the corporate network, then OCS is a great way of extending the telephony environment out to that end user who's working from home or who's sitting on a wireless hotspot or something with a laptop. So OCS breaks the shackles of the network and voice to many organizations. And SharePoint is a very popular communication and collaborative tool where end users will share documents with each other and use it to manage their intranet sites. They could also use SharePoint for extranets or even for internet publishing, so it can be used to manage the content through workflow, perhaps get approval for content publishing and so on, and that also links in with Outlook and with Exchange. And then finally, from a technology map perspective, many users also carry a mobile phone which is email enabled, and many smartphones directly support Exchange. So Windows Phone or Windows Mobile devices have native support for Exchange, where it can push email out to them, but it's also enabled by many third parties who've licensed the technology from Microsoft. So the Apple iPhone, several Nokia phones and so on all have licensed this capability to directly connect to Exchange without requiring any kind of subscription service or other forms of gateway servers to sit between the Exchange environment and the mobile device environment. Now, one of the key elements when it comes to looking at changing an existing Exchange environment is to look at the number of deployment options. So many organizations have consolidated from having Exchange servers dotted throughout their network to bringing them back to a single place. And as the end users are more likely going to be mobile than they were in the past, it matters a lot less to those users if the Exchange servers are in fact on the company's premises or not. So they could be in somebody else's data center. Either a hosting provider happen to be running the servers on your behalf, or it could even be an entirely hosted offering sitting in the cloud somewhere. So Microsoft offers services, as do other providers, where Exchange is effectively in the cloud and the end users just connect to it over the internet. But that's not always the best approach for every organization. So some still have a requirement for on-premise operations of their Exchange environment. Perhaps they have particular controls over the data that they need to keep in place, or just the fact that the IT organization is responsible for the service level that's delivered to the end users may be a good reason why it stays in-house. Now the interesting thing with Exchange here is that there is no either-or approach. We can have a blended model where some users have mailboxes in the cloud and others stay on premise, and that could change over time. So some organizations may end up entirely cloud-based, others will remain on premise for the foreseeable future. The nice thing here is that it can be a flexible approach which changes over time. So if you're a customer and you're thinking about changing the Exchange environment, it's important to keep an eye on the ramifications on all of these other things. It may be that when you update Exchange, it gives you a great opportunity to start modifying or adding new services into some of these other areas. If you're a Microsoft partner, then make sure you have this conversation with your customers so that you can show that you can add additional value to them and also get potentially extra work out of it as you start deploying some of these additional capabilities or helping the customer realize benefits in software they've already purchased. So I hope this has been useful, and I wish you the best of luck with Exchange in the future.